Welcome back to The Extract. I'm Kyle Meyer, and next to me, Salvatore Ferragamo. Sir, how are you?
Very well, thank you, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
Super happy to be here in California.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Kyle.
And it's great to be back, post-COVID, everything, people traveling again. Is it good to get out?
It is, absolutely. It's great to be out, back in the market, and this is, I feel there is like a new energy, and this is really special to be back in the market and to showcase our wines and to see, check with the market and get the response. I think that's the best way to see how we're doing and how our wines are being perceived.
Your wines. Let's talk about your wines. Let's talk about Il Borro. Let's talk about, quick start, we'll do a couple minutes, like rewind, right? So, your dad, hunting trip?
Absolutely. You know this story. Good job. Yeah. Well, we are all hunters. We're not great shots, but we enjoy a bit of hunting. We have our fantastic GSP dogs, and we go hunting in the woods and on the land of Il Borro, and that's how the whole story started. My father, since I was a young boy, he rented hunting properties. And the Borro was one of the latest property he had rented. And we were there for about 6-7 years before the previous owners decided to sell the property. And so my father actually got the whole family together, and he said, we have this opportunity. And of course, I said, Dad, this is fantastic. I can go hunting every day. And then, my father said, no, not really. Yeah. We have to share this beautiful place with the world and transform it into a unique activity. So the production of wine, our Relais Chateau Hotel that we have in a 1,000-year-old medieval village on the property, and the restaurants and many different activities that today make for the Borro a unique and special place that it is.
When you guys bought the property, was there some research in advance, or did you take a flyer? Like, you bought the property and you're like, yeah, maybe grapes. Like, how did that work out?
Okay, very good question. Now, born and raised in Tuscany, so wine is really in my blood. I wouldn't say necessarily as much for my father, that his father came from the south of Italy, and so he's I don't know, he had less of maybe of, he had, I would have to say, today it's very different, less of a love for wine. But so the first thing we did, we started restoring this beautiful village, and we saw an incredible opportunity to provide for our guests of a unique experience of staying in a 1,000-year-old medieval village. And my father, I think because of his grandmother making wines in another part of Tuscany with much less success, he said, we're not going to make any wines though here on the property. And I said, Dad, really? Because it's the 90s, wine is doing so well, and I think in this part of Tuscany, we had Barone Ricasoli do the first experiments on Chianti, the very first 4 DOCs were made here. Let's just make a few bottles of wines for our guests. And so we did. We started with 4 hectares of vineyards, and then from there, of course, we saw the wine had this beautiful intensity, persistence, the color was amazing. And as it often happens, my father became even more passionate than me, and today I am slowing my father down. I said, Dad, let's maybe we have 70 hectares of vineyards, maybe we should slow down. No, he wants to plant
400 hectares.
Every square meters.
So you kind of, in effect, you wanted to create this entire experience for folks, and I'm not gonna say you lucked into it, but you kind of knew what you were doing, but in the end, the results maybe even exceeded what you had anticipated.
Absolutely.
Is that fair to say?
I think it is. It is fair to say. We are in a part of Tuscany which is known as the Valdarno Valley. Today we have a new DOC, or I should say an old DOC that has been reactivated. It's actually a 300-year-old DOC. And in reinactivating this, the Valdarno di Sopra DOC, we said, let's make it into the very first organic DOC in the world. Now, in doing so, this is actually very interesting because the property is about 3,000 acres. We're at the foot of the Apennine mountain range, close to the town of Arezzo. But this provides for a very diverse type of soil. So we're going from the mountainside, the Apennines, rocky, dry, steep kind of soils, ideal for the Sangiovese grape variety. Instead, as you're coming into the valley of the Valdarno, you have more international grape variety soil. So clay, sand, gravel, soil to plant the different varieties, the Merlots, the Cabernet, and the Syrah. So there was a study. We did actually excavations to understand the soil and of course analysis of the soil and chemical analysis and so on. But really, it's a learning curve. When you are starting off with a new project, there is an element of trial and error, and sometimes things don't go as planned. And maybe we had some Petit Verdot, which had to actually was too powerful. We had to graft that with some Chardonnay into Chardonnay, and so this has been. A journey of 30 years, actually, I should say. This year has been 30 years that we own the property.
Don't tell me. We start from the start. That wine keeps you young. So your problem is almost the diversity of your location.
It is.
How do you keep focus? How do you not do the whole squirrel thing with regards to what you're trying to accomplish in the vineyard? And have you kind of like dialed it in now? Do you have a focus based on all this opportunity for you?
Well, I think we have. I think it's a challenge, but also an opportunity. If the Borro was in Montalcino, you would be more focused. You have your DOC to follow.
Easy peasy.
And easy peasy. Instead, in this case, there is an element of creativity, which I have to say makes my job much more dynamic, really interesting and fun, because we can actually experiment. We are one of the few that actually, if not the only winery that we produce a wine called Bolle di Borro, which is made from early harvest Sangiovese. It's a Champenois style rosé that rests on the lees for 5 years. It's an incredible product, incredibly successful, and does really well with blind tasting with the top champagnes in the world. You would never expect that. So more challenging, but also very rewarding at the same time. We have other wines, like for example, the Lamelle here. This is a stainless steel Chardonnay. This
was that Petit Verdot.
This was grafted into Chardonnay. So an experiment in this case. But Chardonnay, this is often associated with malolactic fermentation, oakiness. Instead, we said no, only stainless steel, and take advantage of this incredible terroir that we have on the property. The valley used to be part of the sea, so there is an interesting minerality and salinity. So you get the tropical notes, some citric, beautiful fresh flavors that comes to the but also this wonderful salinity and minerality. It's incredibly successful wine. That have we been in Chianti Classico? Maybe we wouldn't have necessarily produced a wine like this.
No. This diversity also plays into how you make the wine as well. So now you've kind of like dialed in some of these grape varieties based on soil locations, right? Sangiovese here, Merlot here, Cabernet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now you get to focus on diversification of winemaking. So with a wine like Petruna, this is something unique and different. Let's talk terracotta.
Terracotta, amphora wines. This is also a lot of fun. I don't know if you know, but in an area just outside of Florence called Impruneta, there is a long-standing tradition of producing clay pots. So we took advantage with our actually family friends to say, let's design a special amphora that has this porous element that is ideal to produce an amphora wine. So this porosity actually interacts with the wine in a completely different way. The Sangiovese that tends to have quite a tannic structure and nature to it, through this micro-oxidization that is happening with the wine, you're transforming the wine that it becomes incredibly elegant, gentle, maybe more like a Nebbiolo than a true Sangiovese. So really another very interesting wine that we were able to discover and create.
Super perfumed.
Beautiful perfumes. There is a wonderful earthiness also about this wine that I think also comes from the amphora, the container that contributes to this. Unique wine, it's actually a year on the skins. So in the amphora, so this is really a long-term contact, but this micro-oxidization really contributes to this wine, and it's
which, by the way, you're on the skins, right? A lot of folks might think that the whole concept is that it'd be this super extracted, super tannic, you're steeping the tea with the bag for a year, right? And the results would normally be like, oh.
Very good point.
But it's the opposite, huh?
It is completely the opposite. But you could do this only because of this micro-oxidization that is happening. So you are getting the wine is so much softer, because of this, but it's not oxidized. It's really interesting.
Yeah, killer stuff. Okay, so we're doing amphora, we're doing barrels, but we're also working here, right? The flagship wine, because the flagship wine at the start was definitely international, definitely, right? Of a time.
Absolutely.
Right? It was of a time.
Of a time. It's the 90s.
It was the 90s. Yeah, like
Absolutely.
yeah. How has this wine evolved in the last few vintages, and where are you taking this wine, the Il Borro, the flagship?
Well, in 2011, we started working with Stefano Chioccioli, maybe one of Italy's top winemakers, and we said, okay, it's time to make a transformation. And this has been a journey. We started with the first transformation was to make all our wines certified organic grape wine. So we have the sign here of the certified organic grape, which I think is very important. At first, this was not easy because you can imagine that the vines was struggling. You're putting them in a difficult conditions. But over time, the vines actually becomes stronger and more resilient to produce fantastic wines. At the same time, in 2014, we actually improved our technology in the wine cellar. We got this fantastic machine that is a fiber optic sorter to really ensure that only the best grapes, the single berries that reach full maturity, would go in and be part of our vinification process. And this has also added a fantastic element of quality. The selections of the barriques, this has also been very, very important. And over time, I think this wine is an incredible, full-body, traditional, super Tuscan wine. I love all my wines, of course. It's important to say a little bit like my kids. I cannot say I have a favorite one, but this was the very, very first wine from the winery. This is a 2019 vintage. Actually, we just received the Tre Bicchieri from the Gambero Rosso, which was a
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big deal, by the way.
Thank you. It's a big deal, and the wine is just fantastic. I love it.
Is Merlot always going to be the base of this wine, the foundation of this wine? Yes. Moving forward with climate change and all this kind of stuff, and.
Climate change is an interesting topic. We're actually changing the way we breed the vines, the canopy. We're going to actually have a little bit broader canopy so that the intermediate leaves will actually absorb some of the sugars. They will not all go down into the plants to maintain that appropriate sugar levels. I think that is important. We are changing the way we breed the plants from, we say cordone speronato, I'm not sure how you say that in English.
It's a cognate. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
Okay, to a Guyot method of growing to really factor this global warming factor, which as a producer we can say it's definitely a reality.
Yeah. Right.
Yes,
it's here.
It's here. We're seeing this.
Yeah. All right. You got me.
Thank you, Kyle.
No, the wines are dope. We've worked with them, been familiar with the wines from the start, and it's really fantastic having Salvatore here today to run through the wines and to run through the process, because I think Valdarno and what you guys are doing in Valdarno and this whole thing, it's a microcosm of what's happening in Tuscany right now. There's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement in Tuscany, and for an area that was sleeping for generations. To the point, like you said, the wine from the previous in your going tasting, pretty grim stuff, but it's got alcohol. Let's do this, right? We've evolved so far in the last 20, 30 years.
Yes, I think so.
And I think your estate is like a shining beacon for what's happening in Tuscany right now.
I think so. I thank you for saying this, and it's fantastic to be here. But at the same time, I would also like to share the credit with all the local producers that we have in my part of Tuscany, because it's not one winery, but it's a group of producers that actually can think in the same way and move forward together. I think this is really important.
Organic, DOCG, but let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for coming. Cheers.
Thank you.